And I wanted to thank our special guest, Tamir Goodman. One of the things that we've been trying to do over the last couple of weeks, we've been trying to use social media as a platform to entertain, to educate, to just give people a sense of reprieve, of not having to worry about the stress and the anxiety of what's going on in the real world. And what we are trying to do is bring in people that are within our industry, outside of our industry, who can really help us take our mind off of things without having to focus on so many of the challenges out there. And I've continued to try to bring, guests, A, that inspire me, but B, people that can truly do such service to all of our listeners and all of our audience, people that extend way beyond the business world of real estate and finance and small business. We have so many individuals that are just looking for some kind of an outlet to focus their mind on positivity and encouragement and motivation. And with that, I could not think of a more appropriate and suitable guest to join us today, which is Tamir Goodman. I wanted to say thank you so much for joining us. I know that you've been so busy of late. You would think that with all that's going on, life would slow down. I know it's slowing down from the norm, but I know that you've been so busy trying to do a lot of these things on a much broader level. So I thank you for joining us. We pale in comparison to what you've normally been used to in terms of entertaining and coaching thousands of athletes and young athletes. So I really want to thank you for your time and welcome aboard. Please just tell us first and foremost how you're doing and a little bit of a background for those, although I'm sure it's not applicable, those who may not know you. Tamir.
First of all, thank you for thinking of me, and thank you everybody for listening in. My name is Tamir Goodman. I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and when I was very young, fell in love with the game of basketball and had a dream of playing Division I basketball on a scholarship and professional basketball. But my special goal within that dream was that I'd be able to do that without playing on the Jewish Sabbath. I was very blessed to grow up in the perfect family, the perfect community, and have the perfect coaches and teammates around me, so that by the time I was 17 years old, I was ranked the 25th best player in America, and ultimately was able to land a scholarship without having to play on Shabbat at Towson University, because they managed to change the schedule for me and I was able to live out my dream playing college basketball at Towson University.
No, that's awesome. Thank you for that background. To start your career, you joined the basketball world. I'm so curious. Somebody who was dubbed the Jewish Jordan, somebody who was talked about and referenced on Seinfeld, somebody who was mentioned in Sports Illustrated, ESPN, and all the sports channels. How does somebody at such a young age develop the discipline to just commit to that kind of a lofty goal and that kind of a pursuit?
Well, I can't take much credit for it at all. Like I said, I grew up in an amazing home. My father, blessed memory, was an amazing human being and role model for me. My Savta was a Holocaust survivor. She lived with us half the year. My mother supported my entire family, and also my coach. And basically one night when I was about 15, 16 years old, he had already started to take me to play against college players at night. And one time I was in the gym in the summertime playing against college players, and I got pretty frustrated because they were stripping the ball away from me and I couldn't make the moves. I couldn't get to the hoop it just wasn't as easy as it was for me playing against other players. And these guys were already grown men, 21, 22 years old. And I guess I went up towards the basket, and I don't know if I missed a shot or what, but I slapped the padding at the college gym. I was so frustrated. And he said, look, I started to cry, and he's like, look, we don't have to be here. We could just go home right now. But if you love the game and you want to do this, you're going to have to be able to play against this type of player, this type of strength, this type of quickness. So if you don't want to be here, let's just go home. But if you really want to do this, this is what you're going to have to be able to do. So you either pick yourself up and do this, or let's just go home. And if you're going to do this, this is who you're going to have to play against. This is what comes along with it. There's going to be a lot of media. And I got back on the court and I said, I want to do this. So we did it. And it wasn't always perfect. A lot of challenges, a lot of mess ups. but ultimately I had the support that I needed and the guidance and the mentorship that I needed to help me always try to move forward and get back on track and fulfill my dream.
That's great. And there's no doubt that it's a lesson for all of us to surround yourself by people who will mentor you, who will motivate you, and who will push you. I mean, I think part of being a good mentor and coach is pushing somebody to the limits that they don't know that they can reach and they can achieve. And clearly you surrounded yourself with that. I'd say, how do you perceive the approach that you took in terms of were you looking to well, let me say it like this. Clearly, if your only claim to fame was somebody who was looking not to play on Shabbos, then that in of itself, while a tremendous and lofty goal, it would not be as poignant as somebody who wasn't as successful as you were. I mean, somebody who, like you, was averaging 35 points per game in your junior year, and somebody who's a starting point guard in college where it was as a freshman, which was unheard of. And I guess, how did you manage the weight that you put upon yourself, both as somebody who is in the limelight of the pressures of athletics, as well as somebody who has now had a completely different agenda, which people were emphasizing, which is your Jewish approach of trying to maintain that balance of being Jewish and still being successful on the court?
Yeah, so I think that the Judaism didn't separate from the basketball. The Judaism was what helped the basketball. It was one thing. In other words, I think if I would have just played for my own ego, or just because I want to fulfill some type of satisfaction of playing a game that I loved, I probably wouldn't have reached as far as I've gotten to, because the Judaism made me an ambassador. It made me, on a mission. And when we try to do things for something greater than just our own ego, we could go much farther. Because if I had a good game, who am I to be satisfied with how I played? It's not about me. This is about something bigger than myself. And if I had a bad game, I can't feel so down about myself, because this isn't about me. I got to get right back in the gym, do what I need to do. And because it was bigger than just my own ego, it allowed me as much as possible to overcome some of those challenges and deal with the media. And kind of like, it really, in essence, gave me the blueprint and the guidance that I needed to try to figure out a way to make this happen.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I guess just to relate it to, although it's unrelatable as to what's going on in today's world, but so many people are being faced with challenge and struggle and change. And we appropriately titled this just how to pivot. And I think what a lot of us are faced with is just trying to adapt and adjust to what we're seeing on a personal level, on a professional level. I guess, was there, or can you take us back to the time when you started in college? And I know that things changed for you. You're supposed to be going to University of Maryland, and just, I guess, take us back to that time where you thought things were going great, and then if and how things unraveled, and what was your approach and mindset at that point?
Yeah, there was a lot of changes in my life. I transferred my senior year of high school from a Jewish school to a Christian school. Then I was supposed to go to Maryland, and then from Maryland, I ended up in Towson. But one example that I think could hopefully shed light on this, and it's kind of how I go about pivoting right now and dealing with what we're going through, is I got invited to play in a very prestigious all-star game called the Capital Classic All-Star Game. That's where I first met our mutual friend, Mike Sweetney. And the best players in the world playing in Washington, D.C. And it was a really, really big opportunity. And I was feeling a little bit nervous before the game. There was a lot of celebrities there, NBA players, and a lot of the guys that were on the court were going to be NBA players. And I just saw my coach right before the game, seconds before the game, and my high school coach. And I said, "Coach, do you have any last-second advice for me before I get on this massive stage, play against these players?" And he just said, "Look, don't take any extra dribbles. Don't take any extra dribbles." That was his advice. Don't take any extra dribbles. And I went in the game with that in mind. And ultimately, I was able to win most valuable player of that game and tie the assist record, I think, with Jason Kidd of all time in the history of that game. And the point of that story is sometimes when we have to pivot in life, we might feel so overwhelmed. And the way to beat feeling overwhelmed is just to get one small win. Because when you get one small win, it leads to another win and another win and another win. So like if you go into a game, if we go into a game, sometimes you might be nervous. Say you're playing in front of thousands of people. What are you supposed to just go on the court and be able to hit a 3-pointer? It's hard to do that. You might not have the confidence to do it. So you get a small win, you get a steal. You run the possession, you run back on defense. You just do small little wins to get your confidence going. And the next thing you know, you're able to make the big plays. And I think that's what I learned in that game, in the All-Star game. Just start by not taking too many dribbles, something that's in my control. And then eventually things will fall into place and your confidence will go and you can accomplish greater things. And I think what I try to do now is, basically my entire business has been shut down because of this, right? So I just try to get small wins throughout the day. I got to work out. I got to make sure that I'm eating healthy. I got to make sure that I'm, being the best husband, the best father, just whatever I'm involved in, doing it to the best that I can. And just gives me these small wins that hopefully I can continue to pivot and navigate and be creative. And then more and more of my potential will come out and I can continue pivoting and finding hitting blessings through this entire period. So that's kind of what I've been going through on a daily basis. And maybe it could help people that are out there feeling frustrated, feeling down, feeling like everything's been shut down. Just try to get small wins throughout the day. And the small wins will lead to hopefully bigger blessings.
Yeah, those are excellent pieces of advice, and we're certainly grateful and appreciative of that. I guess I would also like to know, where did your career go after playing in the NCAA, and when you went to Israel? How long were you there? What did you do? And how did your life change from that point on?
Well, after I played at Towson University, I got a phone call from a very famous coach. His name is Coach David Blatt, who was the first Israeli coach to coach in the NBA. And he said, "What do you think about turning pro? We've been following you and coming to Israel." And I said, "Coach, that would be an unbelievable opportunity. That would be a dream come true for me." My 7th grade yearbook, everyone got to write what they want to be when they grow up. And I wrote, "I want to be a professional basketball player in Israel when I grow up." So when I got that phone call, I was very excited. He said, "Look, I'm going to rent a court at Chelsea Piers. This is this place in New York. I'll come from Israel. You'll come from Maryland, and we'll meet." And after a 1-hour tryout with Coach Blatt at Chelsea Piers, I was able to sign a 3-year contract with Maccabi Tel Aviv. I made Aliyah. I moved to Israel. I ended up playing 7 years professionally here in Israel. I served in the IDF. I was awarded Chayal Mitzdayan, which means outstanding soldier in my unit, specializing in armor personnel carrier, which is like a small tank. I met my wife here, and thank God now I have 5 kids, and we're living in Jerusalem.
Such an amazing story, and like you would think, you would say, dreams come true, and you're certainly the epitome of somebody who pivots and tries to adjust to what they're seeing, the challenges, and make the best of it. I know now that you've been involved in so many different things in addition to the coaching and speaking and just the guidance that you give people. What are you busy with these days? Well, prior to, what have you been doing just from a career perspective? Where have you taken a love of basketball to try to incorporate it into your life? And how important is it to people to do what they love and love what they do?
Yeah, well, I feel very blessed that I get to do exactly what I want to do, where I want to be doing it, which is in Jerusalem with who I want to be doing it with. So I think that's very important, and I'm very blessed to do that every single day. I basically have a sports marketing firm here in Jerusalem with different platforms. So one platform is coaching, where we have an overnight camp in Jerusalem where we host players from around the world, ages 13 to 17, to come every year in July. We also invite NBA personalities and leading coaches from around the world to work at our camp and empower our kids on and off the court. So that's one side of it. There's a bunch of coaching. I train a lot of players from professional all the way down, a lot of college players, a lot of future college players. Every day I'm in the gym coaching. But our biggest program is the overnight camp. And then we have a consulting side where I have, because of my success in entrepreneurship, I developed a training aid called Zone 190, which is a multi-angle pitchback for basketball, which is now being used by many NBA teams and college teams and high school teams across the country. And now we're working on a backyard model, which is very exciting. And during these days, I've been able to spend more time on it, and I'm very excited about how that's coming along. So I basically am a consultant, sports consultant for a lot of Israeli startups that are in the tech world. Also, Paul Jerusalem is a client of mine. I've been working for them for 6 years now, doing business development with an emphasis on tourism and Americans that are coming over to Jerusalem and tying them into the team and the programs of the team. Have been involved in some media projects. Recently, the Players Tribune documentary came out, and now that was a 10-minute documentary. Now we're working on a longer documentary as well. And I do a lot of speaking engagements and clinics. I've developed a line of compression fit tzitzit. I've had my book published. So I've been very busy, but like I said, I get to do exactly what I want to do every day, which is trying to bring light to the world through basketball, whether it's coaching, product development, speaking, etc.
That's amazing, and it's so rewarding to see somebody who has taken a passion of theirs and turned it into the business world. And it's not so easy, as anybody knows, and as everybody knows. Just to say that you want to be successful at something and take a passion and try to monetize it is a very daunting task. And I know that Tamir works extremely hard. One of the most hardest people that I know. I've known him for months and months and months. We have mutual friends in common, and the times that he's like, you can get a text from him, late at night, and then 2 hours later, when he maybe got 2 hours of sleep, he's back at it, responding, communicating online, offline. He's a tremendous work ethic, and I guess that's really what I'd like to know. How does one develop such a work ethic, that the discipline to accomplish everything in their personal and professional life? Any tips that you could advise to anybody?
Well, I could sum it up by a quick story. After I retired, a kid came over to me and he said, "Hey, do you want to go shoot around with me?" And it shook me when he said that. It hit me for the first time in my life. And I said, you know what? I don't know how to shoot around. I never just shot around. Every single time I was on the court, I was trying to get better. I knew exactly how many shots I took, how many I made, how many missed, what I needed to work on, what I needed to work on the next day. And it's just part of basketball. It's part of the training. It's just the way that I grew up, and I'm still like that till today, and I couldn't be any other way. Thank God my wife's on the same page as well. She's also a former athlete. So we have our, I don't know if you can see it, but we have our TRX set up right there. And we're usually out here about 3:45, 4 a.m. working out together every morning, and then we start our day. So it's all part of basketball, and basketball's taught me how to try to put myself in a situation to succeed, and the best way to do that is through hard work. And I've been blessed with that work ethic, and blessed with great coaches along the way who taught me how to be on top of time management, organization, making the most of every day.
Right, that's amazing. And again, surrounding yourself with people that you love and people that share the same like-mindedness and goals that you have is very important and critical to be successful in anything. Is there anything that you would recommend to people in terms of just maintaining that healthy balance of making sure that, because so much of what you've been saying has been surrounded by family and spouses and loved ones. How important is it to make sure that you include that in any kind of a life that you pursue?
Yeah, there's no doubt, and studies have shown that you're happiest when you're around great family and friends and people that love you. There's a Harvard study, people that have gone through the same disease, same age, same everything, people that have good relationships and good family and good friends, they're able to live longer and beat diseases versus people that are suffering the same thing but don't have good relationships. So happiness, it comes from having great friends and great relationships, etc. But I don't think that that's enough. I think that it's really important to feel good about yourself. Do everything you can to put yourself in a situation to succeed. So it's like, a lot of times when I'm at a coach's clinic and they ask me, what's the first drill you do to start practice? I said, that's not how you start practice as a coach. Before you even get on the court, you need to feel really good about yourself. Do whatever you have to do. If it's working out, if it's eating healthy, like I need to come to practice feeling really good about myself. Because if I feel really good about myself, I'm going to be able to uplift my players. I won't feel the need to take anything out on them. They'll know everything I'm telling them because I love them and I care about them and I have their best interests on and off the court. But sometimes when we feel bad about ourselves, we could get down on other people. We could take out our emotions on other people, we're just not in the same headspace. We make much better decisions when we're feeling good about ourselves and we're feeling confident and healthy. Contrary to when we're not feeling good about ourselves, we can make decisions that are, you know, spontaneous and not thought out and just coming from the wrong place of our soul. So I think it's very important, number one, to have family and friends, but number two, we also have to do everything we can to make sure that we're mentally and physically feeling good about ourselves so that we can not only reach our potential, but help everybody else around us reach their potential as well.
Those are great and valuable lessons, which is honestly, and before I let you give any final comments that you may have, that's really, and I'll end how I started the conversation, which is part of what we're trying to do in these uncertain times and these just challenging life events that are happening. We're just trying to bring people a little reprieve, a little, you know, pause from reality of what's going on and take your mind off of things and be inspired by people, be motivated by people, people who, you know, are not one-dimensional in their pursuits. And here we have somebody who's able to pursue a career, pursue a passion that he had of not only being a successful basketball player, but also somebody who was able to maintain his religious and Jewish beliefs and principles and turn that into a tremendous life lesson for all of us. And you're truly an inspiration for all of us. And I guess any parting words for anybody out there in terms of just giving them the strength and the confidence to pivot, as we say, and to move forward when this is all undone, when this is all over and done with, hopefully very soon.
Yeah, just again, thank you for your time. Thank you for thinking of me. Thank you for everyone listening. I just give like one example, like while we're running drills and we're working on different ball handling drills and the ball gets away from one of the kids, they get upset. You know, their head goes down and how did I lose the ball? You know, but I always tell them every time, I say, if you lost the ball, that just means you're one step closer to reaching your goal because you're getting better. If you weren't dribbling and working on these moves, that would have never happened. You wouldn't be improving. So I think that sometimes we're in a huge challenge. We feel like we're losing the ball, but really other aspects that we have are coming out. We're maybe more patient, maybe more creative, maybe more appreciative, maybe more, you know, focused on different things that this situation has put us in. So first of all, blessings and reveal blessings to everyone. And anyone that's unable to find that, just give yourself the benefit of the doubt, do everything you can to put yourself in a situation to succeed and realize the ways that the opportunities that we do have to grow that otherwise we may have not been able to have. And hopefully that would help. You know, I was doing a Zoom meeting with a coach yesterday and he said the players were complaining they're not outside, they can't shoot, they're so used to training in the gym. And I said, well, did you ever talk to them about mental training? Like, did you ever talk about watching old tape? Like watching the great players, like stopping the film, like what would you do at that situation mentally? Would you make the pass? You know, would you pull up? Like working on that whole, and then it's just like, wow, I'm like, what better? Most players never have the opportunity to ever do that, but this is allowing you to work on that part of your game that otherwise you probably wouldn't do or even thought of to do. So try to find the hidden blessings through all this, but the main thing is everyone should have open and revealed blessings.
That's awesome. Thank you. There's so many takeaways over here. And I can tell you just as a side note, as I was posting about our webinar this morning, so many people reached out to me, little messages and texts and whatever it may be, to tell me that you have been a true inspiration to them for so many years as a child and even as an adult. And they've been watching your career and watching your life as you've progressed and as you've pivoted into different, you know, diverse businesses and just helping children. And they wanted me to relate to you that you've been a tremendous inspiration to them. And therefore, I'm really appreciative and grateful that you were able to give us a few minutes of your time at this really busy time. And I'm certainly thankful to everybody who joined us with all that's going on right now. And I'm excited to be able to have this recording, and eventually we'll put it up so that people can take real value and benefit from it. Thank you so much, Tamir. We appreciate it. Stay healthy, stay safe, and happy Passover.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.